social media campaign spearheaded by Imani Africa Vice President Selom Brantier. He joined us yesterday by phone on the Super Morning Show. He told us what motivated him to begin this advocacy. Listen.
One of my church members, about 2 years ago, a first-class graduate of the university, died while crossing the road at Medina Zongo Junction. So, of course, for someone who has lived in the area all my life, we're very happy when the new road was built because there was a lot of traffic on the Medina-Adenta stretch. So when the new road was built and then we saw the footbridges being put up, and mind you, the footbridges were only put up about a year or so after the roads were completed. We thought that we were all happy because we thought it was going to help with the pedestrian crossings. And then we realized that they only put up the major footbridges and then they only put up the superstructure and they didn't put up anything else to complete that structure. And it has been like that for about 7 years now. For some of us who drive on that road at night, for example, you could be driving and then the road is dark. Most of the time, there are no street lights on a long stretch of the road. And people will be dressed in dark clothes and will be crossing in the night. And it's very difficult to even see them. That's one. Two, when people cross the road, they'll have to sit on the median in the middle of the road and wait for the road to be clear on the other side before they jump on. Sometimes by sitting on the median, they lean over and then are hit by cars. And it has continued for so long. So many people have died. Pregnant women have died. Fathers have died. In fact, on Sunday night, someone died between, the area they call SDA Junction and Adenta Barrier. Someone died on Sunday night around 10:30 p.m. So it is a matter that is such that we are talking about almost every week somebody dying on this 6 to 7 kilometer stretch of road. Either they die or they get injured or there are accidents. So it has reached a time where we have to really think and ask ourselves, what are we doing to ourselves that a 7 kilometer stretch of road can take 182 lives and counting? What are we doing, and what are the MPs or what are the DCEs and then the MCEs doing to stop this problem? Because then you are talking about the road now becoming a death trap more than anything else. And this is the N4, one of the biggest arterial roads that are supposed to be spanning the city of Accra. What are we doing if we are allowing this situation to persist without any action being taken for so long? What are we doing, or what does it say about us that we can allow a contractor to build a footbridge and leave it halfway and let it stay there and depreciate and weather in the rain and the sun and whatever, without even making sure that we complete it? And yet, the same politicians use these bridges and put their posters on it, asking for people to vote for them. What does it tell? What does it tell of the disdain that they have for the same people that they are asking to vote for them, when they believe that they can use those footbridges as conduits for advertising, without even completing it for the safety of the very same people that they want to vote for them? For me, those are the very pertinent questions.
Right.
And how many are we willing to die before we decide to make the right things and ensure that even let people learn how to be disciplined enough to begin to use footbridges and not cross the or building infrastructure? We always complain about the fact that we hear loans being taken. We hear anytime they are cutting swords, we talk about the grandeur of how the project is going to transform, is going to do X, Y, Z. And then 1 year, 2 years down the line, you come and then the picture that is being painted is totally different from what we have. A poor maintenance culture. We do not see to it that contracts or money that are paid for contracts are really used to discharge the contracts to the full benefit of the intended objective. And for me, these are some of the things that are really worrying. It has now become so recurrent that it is actually a major a major feature of our landscape at this moment. And for me, it is very worrying, because what does it say for us and what does it say for the future if for us now all we see in leadership is the haste to open projects or the haste to tout projects, but there is no attention to how the sustainability of it, how it really benefits, to how to ensure that those benefits are sustainable. Because these are the things, that's the reason why you do any project in the first place. You do it for the good of the people. What is the use in launching it and not being able to see to it that it actually does what it does? And that is becoming more and more of a vicious cycle these days. Anytime anything is being done, to the extent that a lot of people are actually disenchanted. Now, if we still have this disenchantment, it will reach a certain point where people will say enough is enough and they'll be fed up.
Okay.
And then they will do things that we do not expect. But we should not get to that point. We should have the leaders become accountable. There should be accountability for everything they do. When they make a promise, they should fulfill it.
And that was Imani Vice President Selom Brantier speaking with us on the Super Morning Show yesterday. Since then, we have been doing some digging ourselves, and we've got some help from a daily graphic publication of 13th January 2013. I'll be bringing you details of what happened way back in 2013. But first of all, let me welcome my good friend Raymond Aqua. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning once again.
Yes, once again, good morning. I'll also be giving Malik Abbas Dabo another good morning, but issue of concern all around, isn't it, Ray?
Yes, but I think it doesn't make sense to me, regardless of how people justify by saying one contractor was in charge, we needed to replace the person, and we are trying to fix the problem. It doesn't make sense moving more when you've done 90% of the job, and is the smaller percentage that you are refusing to do, especially when this has everything to do with the lives of the people directly.
Exactly.
And there is evidence to suggest that if indeed you wanted this to be done early, you could have done it earlier than now. If we saw this as a national security issue, if we saw the lives of the people involved as important, and we needed to fix the problem immediately, we could have done so.
You think so, Malik?
Especially when history.
We will be going into this in more detail, but let's just take these initial comments so that we can move on. Malik?
Daniel, when were these contracts awarded? Since these contracts were awarded, have we awarded any new contracts for any new road projects? So which man starts a house, doesn't complete that house, leaves it to go and start another house, and then probably doesn't complete that one too, and leaves that one to go and start another house? Meanwhile, the house that you started and didn't complete, the non-completion of the house is leading to deaths, and you're talking hundreds of people dying. In the meantime, you have gone to cut sword, you have awarded another contract for the construction of another road, and yet you have not completed this one. Meanwhile, you need a fraction of the money that you are investing into the construction of another road via a new contract to complete this one and save lives.
That really sums up what the issue is as of now. So those are the thoughts of Malik and Raymond to begin with. Now, I referred to a 13th January 2013 publication for the Daily Graphic, guys. This is what we know from there. One, the project is the reconstruction, of course, of a 5.6 kilometer road from Atomic Junction to Pantine. But it's actually called the Medina Pantine project. It started in July 2009, so that answers your question, Malik. It was expected to end in early 2011. It includes 5 footbridges located near the Redco Flats, first of all, at the SDA Junction, Firestone, Ritz Junction, and Adenta Barrier. And we know it was funded by the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADIA, also the Saudi Fund for Development, and the government of Ghana at a total cost of 38.6 million Ghana cedis. Now, at the time, the director of bridges at the Ghana Highways Authority, Michael Okine, told journalists that in 2013, he said that the foreign entities had disbursed their budgets for the project, but government was yet to fully meet its commitment towards the project.
And what was the contribution of the government? Do we know?
Good. That was not clear at the point, but it will come out. It will come out soon. The project was handed over to the Ghana Highways Authority in November 2014. Now, after the consultant Dar Al Handasa Share and Partners had terminated the contract because the contractors, China International Water and Corporation (CIWC), could not be paid by government. So at the time, we were told that if funds are not released from the government, the project cannot be completed. So as of the time that Mr. Okine was speaking to the Daily Graphic, pardon me, it's 2015, 13 January 2015. As of that time, this is where we were. The project had been handed over to government. Now, sources at GHA, as the Highways Authority, tell us that this handing over, because one would ask, if it's not complete, why would they hand it over? Now, this handing over was done when the project was more than 95% complete. So contractors could expect payment and complete the works during the warranty period. That's the period where if a defect appears on the road, they have to fix it, or as part of the maintenance cost.
They fix it at their own cost, the contractor's cost.
Yes. It's part of the contract sum. Mm-hmm. All of these things are part of the contract sum. Okay, so again, that was 13th January. In 1st July, this is where your question comes in, Malik. The Ministry of Roads and Highways released funds for the completion of the project. Then Minister Inusaf Hussaini said 8 million Ghana cedis had been given to the contractors. Now, if you strike, since at the time 98% of the project had been complete and government had not met its obligations. Mm-hmm. So you can strike 98%. If you want to use rudimentary mathematics, you can strike 98% of 38.6 million, and the rest will be what government has to pay. I don't know about government complete obligation in that, but the rest will be what government has to pay if you want to use that rudimentary arithmetic. Now, 8 million Ghana cedis had been given to contractors. The contractors this time were Sonitra and China R to finish the works. The contractors were owed 15 million Ghana cedis for prior works done. Now, listen to this carefully, because this often happens in the road sector. The outstanding works were to be completed by the end of 2015. Now, you see, the contractors are owed 15 million for old work done, and then they are given 8 million to finish this one. This is a normal occurrence if you are familiar with the road sector.
They will just take the 8,000.
They owe you,
so which is almost a little above, a little more than half of what they are already owed.
Exactly.
But one thing I also noticed from what you are saying, this is a contract which was initially had a 2011 completion date. Now we are talking 2015. How many more years? 4 more years over and above the completion date of 2011.
It was actually handed over in 2014 at over 95%.
Complete. But even that 2014
it's
still
3
was
years.
3 more years over and above when the contract, the work was supposed to be completed.
Yeah, exactly. Now, at the time, the minister emphasized that, listen, the safety of Ghanaians was of prime importance to the ministry. The delay, therefore, in completion of the Medina to Pantine dual carriageway had posed a challenge to the ministry in respect of fixing road infrastructure, such as footbridges and traffic lights to regulate pedestrian movement and turn-ins by vehicles. So at the time, there were no traffic lights as well. This tells us the completion of the footbridges was of primary concern in the use of 8 million, because, of course, the minister has said, look, this is something that we need to finish immediately because the safety of citizens is a primary concern. Now, our sources also tell us that the GHA has advised that the old contractors are paid off. The remainder of the contract is re-awarded for completion. Now, these payments have been certified, and interests on arrears owed to the contractors accrue every month. So, people, this does not only cost us lives, it costs us money. And this is where we are now. So I'm going to bring you guys back in on this one, but we will shortly be speaking with Inusaf Hussaini, who is former roads minister, and we'll be finding out what happened with the disbursement of the 8 million that he himself confirmed in July 2015.
And Daniel, this raises one of the major fundamental problems that we have in construction in this country. What you just mentioned, interest payment. We award contracts we don't release funds. Part of the work gets done. Now the remaining part, which is yet to be completed, doesn't get done because payment is not given. But because the contractor has performed a part of the contract and the state has not followed through with its obligation to make payments, whatever the contractor has spent then starts accruing interest. And what is even more fundamental, the work that you have done is then subject to wear and tear. And by the time the job is completed, no work is virtually done. So you have these footbridges, a contract worth 38 million. If you go and do the calculation, calculate all the interest payment that we are supposed to pay, the price is going to double. And there have been many contracts where the price has, if in some instances, quadrupled because the payment was not done and the interest calculation was made by the contractor, and rightly so. In the end, you don't get any value for money at all. And I remember Deputy Minister for Energy, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, talking about petroleum revenues spread thinly across 31 road projects. In the end, none of the projects was completed. And this ran for years. And then they had to re-award these contracts. And if you do the calculation, there was no value for money. And look, we have done this over and over again. And you ask the question, why don't you just do one project at a time, complete it and move to the next one, complete it, so that at least you get value for money. And in the case of the Medina roads, you save the lives of the people. Inusa Fuseni says we need to save the lives of the people, pay them, and just complete it. You have done 98% of the work or 95% of the work. The remaining 5% doesn't get done, and hundreds of people die as a result of the remaining 5%.
And I referred to the figure 98%. You know, 95% is when a project qualifies for substantial completion. But I refer to 98% because there's a Ministry of Roads and Highways publication on presidency.gov.gh, which lists a number of road projects which government is going to invest its money in. When it comes to its Achimota Fanko, Tetekwashi to Madina Pantine, length 5.6 kilometers, status is 98%. Get this, then it goes to other road projects and says that since we have done so well in these projects, we are going to start a number of projects. And these projects include Kwame Nkrumah Interchange and Kaswa Interchange. Raymond.
Projects that we knew started, some completed, and actually we moved beyond some of these even before having to come to this. I think it's a matter of prioritization. You cannot, and if you are studious, you cannot do a project that leads to many deaths, and you'll still be looking on for a very long time and pretend, especially when it's a very small problem that can be solved by a day. Decision by a single individual to fix this. So I'm wondering, the people who have left this project to be what it is, leading to many deaths, when they go to bed at night, what do they think? Do they think that their job is saving lives or causing the deaths of many? Because that's exactly what it's doing now. People are dying day by day on this same stretch. We are in the midweek. By the end of this week, we should expect 3 or 4 more people dying from this same stretch, because we told one died on Sunday, actually.
Yeah.
You cannot conscionably expect that people die on a small... And you see, the worst part is when they keep referencing, it's left with a very small part.
2%.
But of what sense is the entire project if it's killing people? I thought it was for the good of the people, rather. I thought it was for the comfort of the people, rather. Development ensures that people will live longer, not die earlier than they are supposed to do so. So we don't understand how priority should be given to policies, especially when it is affecting the lives of the people.
Yeah.
We do not understand how, if you do not complete this project, it is still going to kill people. And that, I thought, was to be very obvious to every person. In any case, except we are saying that because a court has injuncted the continuation of the project, we can't do so. No court has done so.
Even in cases where court has injuncted things, we have gone ahead.
We go ahead and do them. We show our
It
muscle.
doesn't make sense to me why,
Guys,
for years, we are still dealing over amount being paid. Government is supposed to pay 8%. This 7 million or 8 million I'm talking about, government has spent more than that. Government are giving more than that in judgment debt. Government have actually abused more than that in this country. Check our Auditor General's report anyway. At least if you want to abuse the money, please redirect it this way. And save lives, and that's the most important part.
Guys, we've managed to secure Inusaf Hussaini, former roads minister. He's standing by, but we'll take these few messages first, and then we'll speak to him. Stay with us. This is the Super Morning Show.
I want you to first think big, not small. Think of how great we can be when we work together. Together, we can ensure that our hard work will provide a better future. Together, we can provide a foundation for you and your business to succeed, regardless of its size. Together, we can create opportunities for all. Bank with us today and let's journey forward together.
Forward together.
Cowbank, forward together.
It's time to own a hotel-inspired apartment near Accra Mall and switch on your urban life with a cool price starting from 315,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, you heard me. Choose our market-leading studio, 1, 2, or 3-bedroom apartment from Oasis Park Condominium at Tetekwashi and enjoy urban resort life. For this and more, call Evelyn on 0204 343 011 or Kojo on 0204 343 008. This is another catered development by CPL Developers. CPL Developers, built for life.
The other day, as I was in my kitchen preparing my special jollof made with lily rice for my family, I heard a knock at the door. It was my mechanic. Instead of calling me to pick my car, he brought it himself. I said, "Cho." He said, "F-O." I said, "Take the car back. I will come and pick it myself." As I turned off the fire from under the lily jollof, there was another knock at the door. It was my neighbor. I said, neighbor. He said, "F-O, my dog has jammed your wall again, oh." I said, "Don't be silly. You don't have a dog." My wife and kids came home, and we saw that he enjoyed. Cho. It was my pastor. He said, "Bless you." I said, "Bless you too." He said, "Did he come to church on Saturday?" I said, "Acho, but why are you coming to tell me this on Wednesday?"
Having to fend off visitors at mealtimes because of Lele's tasty aromatic rice? Celebrate every mealtime by sharing with friends and family near or far. Lele, tasty food, happy family.
Acho.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Food and Drugs Authority.
Super Morning Show.
Thanks for staying with us. This is the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. We've been joined on the line by Inusaf Hussaini, former Roads and Highways Minister. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Inusaf Hussaini.
Thank you. How are you?
I am blessed. How are you?
Well, I'm fine.
Great. So when it comes to the Medina Adenta project, how come it wasn't finished in your tenure?
Well, the Medina Adenta Road was substantially completed during my tenure. What was outstanding were the footbridges that were not completed. But the road and other road infrastructure, like the traffic lights, the street lights, were all completed.
It's the footbridges that we are particularly concerned about, which is why what we are asking, how come they were not completed?
Good, yeah, because you said how come that the Medina roads were not completed. I mean, the road was completed, the road infrastructure was completed, the footbridges were not completed. The footbridges were not completed because I think that work on the footbridges came to a standstill during the time of Joe Gidiso and went on to Amidu Suleimana's time and then to my time. In my time, what I did was, because this project itself was packaged as a single project, anytime we made payment to the contractor will apply bits and pieces of the payment to certain aspects of the work as he found fit. Now that led the project delay, made the project delay for some time because completion was never done. We realized that we couldn't have money to complete the footbridges. So what we did was to get the contractor to concentrate on completing
the road, doing the signals, putting the road, the street light infrastructure, and we hived off the footbridges as a different component of the contract, so that anytime we came by resources, we could get him to go back and complete the footbridges.
What you're explaining then is that you took the footbridges out of the original road contract.
Because we wanted the road contract to complete substantially, because we realized that because we're doing all those things together, the money that we always paid the contractor went into doing bits and pieces, and so never completed the road.
However, you told the Daily Graphic in 2015 that the delay in the completion of Madina to Panta and Dual Carriageway had posed a challenge to the ministry in respect of fixing road infrastructure such as footbridges first. So as of the time, you were still including footbridges in the contract?
In the payment, we're still, anytime we made payment to the contractor would use bits and pieces of the money in all the aspects. And so you never get the road to complete. And so we said, okay, so what we can do now is focus on completing the road. And that's what we did. So after 2015, after the interview, the subsequent payments, we gave specific directives. We got the Ghana Highway Authority to renegotiate the contract and hive off the footbridges on the understanding that we should complete the road, and anytime we came by resources, we will complete the footbridges.
At the time that you were given specific directives, what was left according to your interview were the footbridges, traffic lights, and other road infrastructure.
Yes.
At the time, the footbridges were almost complete because they were the main walkways, were they not?
You had not done access. What he did was he did the bridges, the top part of the bridges. So you needed access to the bridge.
Which is what I am describing as almost complete, of course, for my uneducated stance.
Because the contractor knew that if he did the bridges and never did access to the bridges, you cannot use the footbridges.
Yes.
So he knew exactly what he was doing.
Exactly.
And so he decided to launch the bridges all over, but never did access to the bridges.
That's fine.
Again, that could bring pressure to bear on you. People like you will see that the bridges have been launched, but the access to them were not there.
My question, Mr.
Anytime we make payments, he will go and do some small work in access and trying to provide access. And then the money will get finished. The road infrastructure will never be done. The road itself will never get finished. And then there is constant pressure.
When the 8 million...
What we should do, and like you read, what we should do is to finish the road, do the street lighting infrastructure, do the traffic light infrastructure, put in safety mechanisms, other safety mechanisms, okay, like separating the roads, putting the road infrastructure to clearly separate, and ensure that people do not run across the road. So that's what we did.
With the 8 million Ghana cedis that was being disbursed at the time, did we make specific instructions for the contractor to complete the access to the ramps, to the bridges?
No. When I then was making payments through the Ministry of Finance, I then said that all the payments I was making should be used to complete the road. And that the footbridges, I got the Ghana Highway Authority to renegotiate with the contractor, I think China Water, to concentrate on completing the road infrastructure. And then when we are better circumstance as a nation, then we can put money into doing access to the bridges.
Was that included in any plan by the ministry?
Yeah, that's obviously. I mean, it's part of the minister's plans. The road is a Ghana Highway Authority road. And what I'm talking to you are records of the Ghana Highway Authority.
In terms of priority, how important were the access routes to these footbridges?
Well, they are very important. But you see, I inherited the project. And to be honest with you, probably if I were there during the conception, the project was conceived in 2008, I would not have said that we should do concrete bridges across the road. They are very expensive. They are unsightly, difficult to complete. Now, when I went to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, I used a different strategy. I used the metal footbridges, and you can see all over in the former President Kufuor's house area, CCAP, Kwame University of Science and Technology Junction, Kaswa. You can see footbridges that were very easy to construct, cheap to do. So if I were there in 2008, I would not have advised that we use concrete footbridges to do concrete to do footbridges. They are unsightly.
That's fine. What we are trying to find out, Mr. Fuseni, is that how important was this on the scheme of things? So that's when we got funds, why were funds not allocated to the completion of these bridges?
They were very important. But of course, you have to prioritize. You need to complete the road. You don't build bridges across the road when there's no road. Why put bridges? Because when the road is in use, people's life will be exposed to danger. So you have few or limited resources. You have to complete the road. And in completing the road, you have to ensure that the safety infrastructure, the footbridges are part of the safety infrastructure. So you make a determination between separating traffic and doing bridges across the road. Then we said, no, let's put in traffic light infrastructure so we can separate and regulate traffic on the road. Then you need barricades to separate pedestrians from the road. So we said, let's put resources into that. You need the road to be clear. So let's light up the streets. So we put street light infrastructure on the road. So that was how we were using our limited resources, prioritizing the activities. But of course, road bridges are important. But in the scheme of things, we thought that completing the road, putting the traffic lights, putting the street lights, putting the grid, separating pedestrians from the traffic were equally important, and they were the priority.
That's fine. But then, between the time this project was handed over to government and when you subsequently left office, new projects were started, no?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, since we had limited resources at the time, would it not have been advisable to finish these footbridges before we commit funds to starting new projects?
Well, my brother, new projects were started because they were needed in those areas that the projects were started. We had done the road in Medina Adenta. We had put in substantial road infrastructure on the Medina Adenta road. What was left outstanding were footbridges. We had other areas we didn't have roads. And I think that if we were given the decision to make at the Ministry of Roads, to deliver road to a village which needed roads to save pregnant women from dying from bad roads and ensure that the business is carried on those roads against putting in footbridges, I think you will make a determination. And I have no doubt that you would have said that, well, let's affect the lives of the people who don't have, because these people have a road. And so these are things that agitated the minds of decision makers, and particularly at Ministry of Roads and Highways, when we were committing funds to start new projects, because we thought that those felt needs of the people had to be met.
So it was your decision then to look away from Medina Adenta so we could provide roads elsewhere?
It was a decision then to prioritize other areas while praying for resources to complete the Adenta Medina foot bridges.
At least
I can give you many examples. The Accra-bound, Kumasi-bound dual carriage road I have forgotten Now that road was supposed to be a dual carriage road. When we realized that we didn't have enough resources to continue at the same time in the implementation of the dual carriage road, we told the contractor to concentrate on single carriage to make the road accessible. After all, the road was a single carriage road until we decided to dualize it. And when it was done, it eased the difficulty on the road while waiting for resources to do the second lane. So yes, decisions are made based on the exigencies of the situation. and the exigencies of the situation on the Adenta-Medina road required that we concentrate resources on completing the road. And then anytime we came into resources, we will do the footbridges.
It's interesting because 180 people have passed away from pedestrian knockdowns on that particular stretch. Would you then say that the responsibility for those deaths would go to that decision that was made?
No, it doesn't. 180 people have been knocked down because they've ignored the other safety architecture or infrastructure that we have put there. We have clearly designated crossing areas on that road in the absence of the footbridges. If you drive on the road, you will see areas that we have safely demarcated for people to use to cross the road. Now, if a person decides that he will not use the access created on the road for crossing the road, jumps over the railings, attempts to run across the 6 or so lanes and get knocked down by a vehicle, I don't think you will blame the Ministry of Roads and Highways for that.
Mr. Fuseni, are we blaming the dead for their own death?
I'm just saying, I'm not talking about blaming the dead. I'm saying that I don't think you need to blame the Ministry of Roads and Highways for that.
So it's your view that if these persons...
You are talking about responsibility. And I think that you understand when I say that in law we have what we call contributory negligence.
So you feel that these persons in their negligence...
I'm just telling you that...
So what is the specific point you're making regarding what caused these people's deaths?
I'm not a doctor. I'm not talking about what caused their death. I'm saying that our inability to complete the footbridges did not prevent us from indicating on the roads areas that were safe enough for people to cross. And that if you go onto the road today, you will still see those areas. That when people cross using those areas, they are less likely to be exposed to risk. That's what I want you to understand, your listeners.
Right. We have found the Ministry of Roads and Highways Government of Ghana a summary of some of the plans that you had. Yes, this is, of course, still within the context that you said the footbridges had been hived off the Medina Delta Highway project at the time, possibly. But then again, our information from the Ghana Highways Authority now is that it's being treated as part of the project. So it was an option available. I just wanted to create that context here. It lists a number.
Yeah, that is not
there.
We said that it should not be part of the project because we thought that it should be the contractor should not be expending the limited resources.
That's not the question, Mr. Fuseni. That's well understood. Good. The question here is that I'm seeing 4 roads here. Chimota Ofanko Road, 99% complete. Tete Kwashi Madina, 99%. Madina Pantai, 98%. And then the N1, 100%. Looking at the success of these projects, a number of other projects were going to be embarked on, which included the Kwame Nkrumah interchange and the Kaswa interchange. In respect of saving lives, as you said earlier, would it have been... How did these other projects save lives in comparison with the footbridges at Medina?
I don't understand your question.
You mentioned that you had to prioritize other projects which would also save lives in villages where pregnant women would not get
I didn't
access.
say that.
Well, you said that in our conversation.
Prioritize other projects in terms of road delivery. In terms of road delivery. Not equally on footbridges. If you were doing the road, you had Kaswa Medina Adenta Road. Footbridges were outstanding. You had a road in probably Kojokrum, I think we will say Chrome Road, which road was very bad. And you had limited resources. And you have been able to deliver a road to Medina Adenta. These limited resources, you could use the resources to complete footbridges at Medina Adenta or do the road at Osekojo Krom. What do? Do you leave the road at Osekojo Krom and complete the footbridges at Medina Adenta? That's what I was explaining.
Did you have any plan as to when you would complete these projects? Let's say, for instance, that you had stayed in power from 2017. What was your plan for
complete the project?
At what time?
We definitely had plans to complete the project.
At what time?
We also thought that when the roads that we had started moving on, when the road infrastructure on Medina Adenta had been completed, we will now turn our attention bridge by bridge in allocated resources so that we direct the contractor to complete bridge by bridge, not doing the work at once on all the bridges. So bridge by bridge, that will complete the work. That's how we thought we should do it.
So at what time were you going to get to the 5 bridges?
We definitely would have gotten to that after the 2016 elections. We definitely would have gotten to that.
I mean, in your plan as road minister, did you have a specific year that after I'm done with these other projects, I would get here in 6 months or in 2 years?
We didn't totally. I think that probably we are not communicating well. It was not as if to say that we had totally abandoned Medina Adenta footbridges. No. It was that we refocused our attention on the Medina Adenta road to complete road infrastructure. And that any time we had resources, which resources had no competing use, we will obviously put it to Adenta to complete the footbridges. And in completing the footbridges, we will do the footbridges one at a time. That was the plan that we came to.
Mr. Fuseni,
the ministry, the Ghana Highway Authority and the contractor, Channel Water.
Mr. Fuseni, forgive me. Our current national budget is heavily donor funded. We use about 95% of our funds to pay workers and to meet statutory payments and make payments on our interest.
You mean
is there ever a time?
Budget?
No, I'm just setting the stage for a question. I'm not referring to a specific year. I'm saying that this often happens in our year. My question is there a time where we don't have competing interests in the country for nations' resources?
There has never been a time, not only in Ghana, everywhere in the world. There has never been a time where you have all the resources that you need.
Mr. Fuseni, you just said that you were waiting to have resources without competing interests before completing the bridges. Would we have ever gotten to that time?
We have gotten. You have to understand that within the context of prioritization. That's what you have to understand it. I'm not.
Can you explain the context for me, please?
Lying and being in the office, no, or maybe at the Ministry of Finance, which didn't have use. That's not what I'm talking about. In all our discussions, you must understand it within the context of prioritization.
Okay. Do we acknowledge then that the longer this work took, interest was actually accruing on the sums that we owed?
No, the sums that when a contract is executed and the payment is not done, and depending on the terms of the contract, interest will start accruing at a certain stage.
Right. Mr. Fuseni, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
For the sake of time, we had to end that interview there with Inusa Fuseni, former Minister for Roads and Highways. There's still a lot more questions to be answered with this. Of course, admittedly, since 2017, we've had a different Minister for Roads and Highways. So there's a lot more that we can talk about. However, we'll chew a bit on on the comments that he has made in this project, on this project generally. When we come back from this, stay with us. This is the Super Morning Show. But remember, coming up later on the show, we'll be talking about the registration of the over 490,000 SHS first-year students, and that new information we have from the Auditor General. We understand that the Auditor General has written a letter complaining about the interference of his board chairman. What letter is it? We'll be reading it to you on the show. Stay with us.
There's a reason everyone talks about togetherness, the strength in numbers, the longevity of community, the success togetherness brings. So it's a good reason that the Ghana Stock Exchange set out to bring companies and investors together to foster business growth and fuel individual wealth creation together. Because when we come together, things work for everyone's good. Raise long-term capital for your business or buy shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange today and see the prosperity it brings to all. Visit us on the 5th and 6th floors, City House, Liberia Road, or call us on 0302-669-908 or 669-935 or visit www.gse.com.gh or talk to a licensed stockbroker for more information. Ghana Stock Exchange, bringing companies and investors together since 1989.
Grab your complete bathroom solutions from Jacua with 10 years unmatched warranty. Jacua offers world-class showers, faucets, sanitary ware, and all your bathroom accessories. Visit X-Interior Design Showrooms, Main Spintex Road, and Kojo Thompson Road, and get your Jacua fittings now. Or call 055-250-9566 or 023-684-5512. Jacua, complete bathroom solutions.
When you sit down to take your college finals.
Here we go.
When your dream girl starts giving you her number.
It's 555296.
When you're seconds away from signing an important contract.
Welcome to the team.
When your football idol is about to give you his autograph. You need a pen you can rely on. Big Crystal Original, the long-lasting pen with perfect ink flow. Big Crystal Original.
Tell what be your thing. Stand big, Anna. Brian, yeah, baby. My body, what's your thing? Know your thing. You for do your thing. My body, what's your thing? Know your thing. You for do your thing. My body, what's your thing? Know your thing. You for do your thing. Stand big, man, go help you to do your thing. To do your thing. Hey, you do go support your friend, I will make you up. Stand big, hey, you do them go do your thing. Stand big, hey, you do go support your friend, I will make you up. Stand big, man, go help you to do your thing.
Honey, I'm off and I just grabbed Delaire. Make sure you grab some for the kids too. With new Delaire fruit yogurt, you need more and more. Delaire fruit yogurt, deliciously creamy and thick. It comes in fruit cocktail, strawberry, vanilla, and natural flavors. Adults like Delaire yogurt. Kids love Delaire fruit yogurt. Contact Soticam Ghana Limited, located at Manette Junction off the Spintex Road. Call 0554 018 894. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Getting extra sports channels for a whole week will feel like when your team scores a goal in the final against your friend's team.
Yeah, take that. Did you see that?
Pay your DSTV on time and get a 7-day sport upgrade at no additional cost. That means Access and family customers get Compact Sports channels, while Compact and Compact Plus customers get premium sports channels. Now that's a reason to celebrate. DSTV thanks. T's and C's apply.
With MTN Protect, this is my story.
All these downloads, and I still have so much memory thanks to the cloud backup.
Oh, wow. Thanks to the anti-theft feature, I can track and lock my phone even when it goes missing.
What's your story? Make the right decision by securing information on your mobile phone with MTN Protect. Text SD to 1359 and experience real security solutions like cloud backup, antivirus, anti-theft, and a lot more everywhere you go.
Super Morning Show.
Morning show on Joy 99.7 FM. What are your views on what former Roads Minister Inusaf Hussaini has been saying about the completion of the footbridges on the Medina Delta Highway? You can send us your thoughts on WhatsApp 0244 340 437, or you can tweet at us at Joy997FM or go on our Facebook page, Joy 99.7 FM. Shortly, we will be bringing you exclusive details of the petition Auditor General Daniel Domelevo has sent to the President, describing what he says as describing interference in his work by the chairman of the Board of the Audit Service. We'll be sharing details of that petition to you shortly. But before all of that, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, present the Ghana Industrial Summit and Exhibition GISE 2018 under the theme International Partnerships for Value-Added Industrial and Local Content Development from 18 to 20th September 2018 as the Accra International Conference Center. The media partners are Joy Business, Graphic Communications, BNFT and Guinean Times. For further inquiries, call 0244 933 106 or 020 999 6002. Be a partner to drive industrial growth. Now, open an ADB account today. Send your name and account number to your relations abroad. Ask them to use MoneyGram Direct to Account service and receive your money in your account in minutes. With MoneyGram Direct to Account service, there is no PIN code wahala. You can access your money on all ATMs in Ghana or send it to any mobile money wallet using ADB mobile banking app or *767#. Visit our Facebook, website or call our hotline 0302 210 210 for more. ADB, truly a Greek and more. Let me come back to my friends in studio. We'll be dealing shortly with this petition that Auditor General Daniel Domelevo has sent to President Akufo-Addo, describing interference by his